Imagine raising $1.75 billion before launching a single product, then shutting down 6 months later. Imagine hiring Hollywood's biggest stars, buying Super Bowl ads, and still disappearing faster than a meme. That is the story of Quibi, the streaming startup that promised to revolutionize entertainment and instead became a business school horror story. Today, we are unpacking how you burn $1.75 billion in record time. The idea behind Quibi sounded brilliant on paper, at least in the pitch decks. The name stood for Quick Bites, short episodes under 10 minutes designed exclusively for mobile phones. The founder was Jeffrey Katzenberg, the legendary Hollywood executive behind hits at Disney and DreamWorks. He partnered with Meg Whitman, former CEO of eBay and Hewlett-Packard, to run the company. Together, they sold investors a vision of Netflix-style power compressed into your pocket. It was marketed as the future of streaming for people too busy for regular TV. In 2018, Katzenberg quietly incorporated the company under the working name New TV. He went on a fundraising tour through Hollywood studios, tech giants, and big finance. Within months, Quibi raised $1 billion in its first funding round. Almost every major studio bought in, including Disney, Warner Media, NBC Universal, and others. Even Alibaba in China and Goldman Sachs joined the party with sizable checks. Investors were not betting on an app, they were betting on Katzenberg's Hollywood track record. As the launch approached, Quibi raised another $750 million in early 2020. This second round brought total funding to $1.75 billion before any real revenue. Executives bragged publicly that Quibi had a robust cash runway and exceptional flexibility. They said the money would fund original content, technology, and marketing to reach profitability. Behind the scenes, spending was already massive on production, salaries, and advertising. By mid-2020, internal documents suggested nearly $930 million would be spent on content, marketing, and payroll within months. The product they built was unlike anything else on the market at the time. Quibi shows were all original, with episodes running 5 to 10 minutes each. You could not watch on a TV at launch, it was mobile only by design. They introduced a technology called Turnstile, letting viewers rotate their phones between portrait and landscape seamlessly. Episodes were shot and edited twice, so every scene worked in both orientations. It was technologically impressive and extremely expensive to produce. Quibi positioned itself as premium Hollywood storytelling, not user-generated content like YouTube or TikTok. The content lineup looked like the Oscars crashed into your smartphone at full speed. They had a remake of The Fugitive with Kiefer Sutherland chasing criminals across Los Angeles. They offered a reimagined Punk'd*, hosted by Chance the Rapper, pranking unsuspecting celebrities. There were shows featuring Jennifer Lopez, Liam Hemsworth, Sophie Turner, Lawrence Fishburne, and many others. CBS created a short-form version of 60 Minutes called 60 in 6 designed for Quibi. Billions were committed to multi-year content deals with A-list talent and top studios. Quibi pre-sold around $150 million in advertising for its first year. Then came timing, and timing was brutal. Quibi launched globally on April 6, 2020, right at the height of the pandemic lockdowns. Their entire pitch was built around on-the-go moments, like commuting and standing in line. Suddenly, millions of people were stuck at home, not stuck in transit. Katzenberg later blamed the pandemic for Quibi's lack of growth publicly. But the pandemic was actually driving a streaming boom for Netflix, Disney+, and YouTube. People were watching more content than ever, they just were not watching Quibi. At launch, Quibi offered a 90-day free trial for anyone who signed up. Downloads initially looked strong, with over 1 million app installs in the first days. Katzenberg told The New York Times that Quibi had 3.5 million downloads early on. But internal and external data quickly showed a major problem converting free users into paying subscribers. Third-party analytics estimated that only a small fraction of early users decided to keep paying. Sensor Tower and Antenna suggested low single-digit percentages of people stayed beyond the trial. Quibi disputed exact numbers but never released strong conversion data of their own. The subscription offering itself felt strangely misaligned with consumer expectations. Quibi launched with 2 tiers, a cheaper ad-supported plan and a more expensive ad-free option. Pricing placed it near established platforms like Hulu and Disney+, which offered full-length shows and movies. Quibi gave you 10-minute episodes you could only watch on a phone. You could not share screenshots or clips easily at launch due to strict anti-piracy controls. There were no social features to help shows go viral or spread by word of mouth. For a platform targeting young audiences, it felt oddly disconnected from internet culture. One of the biggest strategic miscalculations was misunderstanding the mobile attention war already underway. TikTok and YouTube already dominated short video on phones with massive free libraries. TikTok's content came from creators, not studios, and felt spontaneous, interactive, and shareable. YouTube mixed professional and amateur videos, with recommendation algorithms keeping people hooked. Quibi tried to sit between them, charging subscription prices for something closer to snacks than meals. They assumed people would pay premium prices for premium short-form content, but habit said otherwise. Consumers already had short content, what they lacked was reason to pay again. Another flaw was the founders' distance from the audience they wanted to conquer. Katzenberg and Whitman were in their 60s, not heavy social media users themselves. Reports described Whitman as not really an entertainment enthusiast, preferring history documentaries. Their instincts came from decades of film and television, not TikTok scrolls and meme culture. Yet they were convinced they understood what young mobile-first audiences wanted perfectly. They pushed high-budget dramas and formatted reality shows instead of building community or creator tools. They tried to apply Hollywood logic to an internet-native attention economy. Spending remained aggressive even as warning signs flashed red across dashboards. Quibi shelled out for expensive ad campaigns, including a Super Bowl commercial before launch. They hired top-tier executives from Netflix, Hulu, and Snap, paying big salaries and stock packages. Huge chunks of that $1.75 billion went into multi-year content commitments. The company burned cash on marketing to build awareness, even when engagement metrics disappointed. By the end of the second quarter, internal projections showed close to $1 billion spent on operating costs. Quibi had built a cost structure for a massive hit, with a relatively tiny audience. Technologically, the product also launched missing features that seemed obvious to everyone else. There was no option to watch on television screens at launch, despite people being stuck home. Casting to TVs was added later under pressure, but by then momentum was gone. Sharing content was difficult due to strict digital rights management, memes could not spread. Social media integration was weak, which limited organic discovery and cultural impact. When critics praised certain shows, there was no simple way to show friends a clip quickly. In streaming, friction kills growth, and Quibi had friction everywhere. The leadership duo eventually acknowledged they had misjudged the market, but only after collapse, a serious breakdown. Whitman and Katzenberg later wrote that Quibi likely failed for two reasons. Either the idea itself was not strong enough, or the timing was wrong. In interviews, they mentioned both strategic mistakes and external circumstances like the pandemic. They insisted financial planning was sound and content quality high. But the underlying truth was simple: the audience never wanted what Quibi was selling. The combination of price, format, and platform restrictions just did not resonate. By October 2020, just over 6 months after launch, Quibi announced it was shutting down operations. The company told investors it would wind down and sell remaining assets where possible. Executives said they still had plenty of cash left but chose to return money now. They framed the decision as acting in the best interest of shareholders and employees. Less than a year after promising to build the third generation of film narrative, the experiment ended. It remains one of the fastest collapses of a heavily funded startup in entertainment history. What happened to the billion-dollar content library built during this expensive experiment? In January 2021, Roku bought Quibi's entire catalog for under $100 million. The shows were rebranded as Roku Originals and released on the Roku channel. Roku got hours of professionally produced content at a steep discount. Quibi's investors effectively funded programming that ended up benefiting another platform entirely. It was a textbook example of distressed asset sale after a spectacular failure. From an investor's perspective, Quibi is a masterclass in concentration risk disguised as star power. The cap table looked impressive, filled with Hollywood studios and big-name corporations. That created social proof, but did not guarantee product market fit at all. Investors mostly trusted Katzenberg's instincts instead of demanding real testing with target demographics. They underestimated the competitive intensity of mobile attention and overestimated the power of celebrity brands. Money can buy content, but it cannot buy cultural adoption on its own. For founders, the Quibi story underlines several brutal lessons about building in saturated markets. First, never assume your resume translates into automatic insight about new audiences. Past success in one medium does not guarantee success in another medium. Second, product must come before press. Quibi was famous long before it proved usefulness. Third, distribution and sharing matter as much as the content itself when competing with social platforms. Quibi tried to build a walled garden while attention was flowing through open networks. Another key lesson revolves around costs and runway management when your model is unproven. Quibi pre-committed to huge fixed expenses in content and marketing before validating demand. That left little flexibility to pivot or experiment when initial results disappointed badly. A more iterative approach might have started with smaller budgets and pilot projects. Instead, Quibi launched at full scale, locked into expensive contracts from day one. When the market rejected the concept, there was no graceful way to shrink and adapt. The only rational option became shutting down and returning remaining cash. Quibi's story also challenges a popular myth in tech: if you build something truly premium, they will pay. In reality, value is relative to alternatives available at the same moment. Consumers compared Quibi not to cable television, but to TikTok, YouTube, Netflix, and Instagram. Those platforms offered longer content, better creators, richer ecosystems, or completely free access. Quibi asked customers to add yet another subscription for something they did not feel they needed. Premium perception alone cannot overcome a weak positioning against entrenched habits. The failure also exposes how dangerous it is to design products around imagined use cases. Quibi was built for commuting and short breaks in a world that was already changing. Even before the pandemic, attention patterns were shifting toward multi-screen, on-demand ecosystems. People watched Netflix on phones, listened to podcasts, and scrolled TikTok in micro-moments. Quibi locked itself into phone-only viewing with artificial time constraints on episodes. They misread not just where people were, but how they wanted to consume content generally. Yet, it would be wrong to say Quibi left no legacy at all. It pushed forward certain technological ideas, like dual orientation storytelling and mobile-first framing. The turnstile patent later became part of lawsuits and debates about vertical video innovation. Hollywood also learned painful but valuable lessons about overfunding untested formats. Investors became more cautious about projects relying solely on star power without traction. Roku's low-cost acquisition showed how distressed digital assets can be repurposed effectively. So how exactly do you burn $1.75 billion in 6 months? You combine world-class resumes with untested assumptions about human behavior. You raise too much money too early and build a skyscraper on uncertain foundations. You launch into a crowded market with a product that solves no urgent problem for users. You spend aggressively on marketing before confirming real love for your product. And when the feedback is lukewarm, you blame timing instead of rethinking the core thesis. Quibi is not just a punchline, it is a mirror for the entire startup ecosystem. It shows how narratives can override data when enough prestige backs an idea. It reminds founders that humility about the market beats confidence in boardrooms every time. It warns investors that FOMO around the next big thing can be incredibly expensive. And it proves that in the attention economy, users, not executives, not investors, ultimately decide what wins. If you are building a product today, especially in content or media, remember this story carefully. Talk to your users before talking to the press, and test before you scale loudly. Respect the platforms people already love instead of assuming you can replace them easily. And never forget, burning $1.75 billion is easy if you ignore reality. Building something people actually want, and will pay for, is the real challenge.